Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sheila. In today's video we are going to be learning how to make a modified butterfly top. I decided to call it the Shelly Butterfly Top. This is a design that I came up with. It's an original. I came up with it about a week ago. That was on Sunday, and I created this very beautiful design with it. You can see the shells stem from the body of the butterfly outwards. Most of you have seen it on my Instagram page, and for this I used a Chinese yarn, and I don't know how to read Chinese, but this is the brand that I used for this particular top. And then I tried it again with a different yarn. This was 24/7 cotton by Lion brand, and it gave me this. And some of you have seen a mint green version on my Instagram page. That was also 24/7 cotton by Lion brand. And today I'm going to teach you how to make this top, but I'm going to be using Alize Sal. This is a yarn that was gifted to me by my sister's friend when she traveled, and I would like to give it a try. I can see the yarn is really thin, so I'll be doubling the strand, but if you can achieve a thickness that's close to a medium weight, then there's no need to double your yarn. You can use a single strand. I'll be using a 3.75, and you can see this yarn recommends 1 to 3 millimeter crochet hook. So I'll be using a 3.75 but doubling the strand so that we can get something that is a bit more strong. So the other thing that you'll need is a pair of scissors and a darning needle. That's all, and let's get started. If you would like a written pattern, it's already up on my Etsy shop. You can check it out. I'll be leaving the link in the description box. So this yarn has glitter in it. That's why I decided to give it a different touch. I feel like this is going to give me something a bit more different and more beautiful. So we are going to start off with a slip knot. This is my slip knot, and we are going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that counts as 1 chain here, and then 3 chains. The 3 chains up count as a double crochet, so this is an extra chain. So we're going to go into that extra chain with 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. So we shall have a total of 4 double crochets if we count the chain 3 as one of the stitches. So that's a total of 4 double crochets. Then we're going to row 2. So for row 2, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, go into the second stitch, skip this because this is attached to the chain, double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next, and double crochet into the last stitch. So you'll have a total of 4 double crochets still. Then we are going to go to the next row, which is row 3, chain 3, turn your work, and we are going to skip the very first stitch because it's attached to the chain, go into the second stitch with a double crochet into the next, and double crochet into the last stitch. So for the first 3 rows we have a total of 4 double crochets on each. Now for row 4, we are going to start doing some increases. So chain 3, turn your work, and you're going to go into the very first stitch with a double crochet. So that means the very first stitch has 2 stitches, then 1 stitch into the next, 1 stitch into the next, and then into the last stitch you're going to place 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. So for row 4 we are going to have 6 double crochets, and then we're going to row 5, chain 3, turn your work, and we're going to do the same exact thing as row 4. Increase on the ends of the row, so 1 double crochet in the very first stitch. Then in the middle stitches you're going to place 1 double crochet in each. Then into the very last stitch, which is this one, we are going to place 2 double crochets. So that is row 5. And now we're going to row 6, chain 3, turn, place 1 double crochet in the very first stitch. So we have 2 double crochets here, and then 1 double crochet into each of the middle stitches. So this is what we have. At the end of row 6, you should be having a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 stitches in total. So we're going to row 7, and for row 7, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch into the very first stitch, slip stitch into the second stitch, slip stitch into the third, and chain 3. So this will be our very first double crochet here. Go into the next stitch with a double crochet into the next, double crochet into the next, and double crochet into the next. So we want a total of 5 double crochets on row 7. So we have the chain 3, which counts as a stitch, then 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are 5 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and double crochet into the second stitch, the third, fourth, and fifth. This is the very last stitch. Make sure you go into it with a double crochet. So we have a total of 5 double crochets for row 7 and 5 double crochets for row 8. And this is the body of the butterfly. This is the part that goes in the middle of your torso, in between the breasts. And now from here, we are going to make a chain of 150. So these are the straps that are going to go behind the neck, around your neck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a chain of 150. So I have my 150 chains, and at this point I'm going to cut my yarn. So that's the very first strap that's attached on this side. We want to balance that by creating another strap here, but this time we are not going to be attaching it here and then making it outwards. We are going to make it separately. You're going to chain 150. So these are my 5 chains. So I'm done with my 150 chains here. And now we're going to be attaching this chain on this corner here. So grab your body of the butterfly and go into the very first chain, which is a chain 3. Go in there with a slip stitch like that, and now you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, which is the second stitch, and then you're going to chain up 5, slip stitch downwards, slip stitch into each and every chain of the chain 5 that you just made. There you go. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and then chain 5 and slip stitch downwards on the chain 5. So 1 slip stitch into each and every chain downwards for a total of 4 times, because the very first chain is the turning chain. So you'll have 4 slip stitches and then slip stitch into the very last stitch, and that's it. You're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So that's it with the body of the butterfly. You should be having something like this. We are going to get rid of these loose ends. We are going to weave them in later, but for now you should be having the midsection of your butterfly finished. So we're going onto the wings of the butterfly, and the wings are made of shells. You're going to make a slip knot, or whichever way you prefer to attach your yarn onto the body of the butterfly. You can just tie or whatever you prefer. So you're going to identify which side you want to be the right side of your work. I feel like any side is okay because they literally look the same. So you're going to go onto one of the corners. I don't know which wing you want to start with, but either here or here, one of those 2 corners. So I'm going to attach my yarn here in that corner. So after attaching my yarn, I'm going to be weaving in this end as I work. So you're going to chain 3 and then place a total of 5 double crochets in that very first double crochet space. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So at this point you should be having 6 double crochets because the chain 3 counts as one of the stitches. So far we have 6, the chain 3 and then the 5 double crochets you've placed in this double crochet space, and then place a total of 5 double crochets in the next double crochet space. So in that space here, the next row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there you go. And now so far we should be having a total of 11 double crochets here. And now you're going to chain 1 and go into the next row, which is row 4 from the base. This next row, and you're going to place a total of 7 double crochets in that space. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So just follow the instructions because the stitches are going to be so packed. So far I have 4 stitches. I want a total of 7 in that space. These are 6 and then the 7th. So let me explain. The very first 11 double crochets will cater for the upper wing. You can see this is where the head of the butterfly is, and then the 7 double crochets are going to cater for the lower wing. So we are going to row 2 of the wing. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, and now I'm going to get rid of this because I've already hidden it into the stitches. So you're going to chain 3 and this counts as a double crochet, and then you're going to go onto the next stitch, not this one but this one. You're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. So that is a shell. The shell is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets for now. I'll tell you when to change that. Then go into the next stitch, which is this one. You can see the next stitch is this one, that one. If you split the stitches, you're going to go in there with a front post double crochet. So front post, you go behind the stitch and pull it up like that, and then work your normal double crochet like that, and then go into the next stitch, which is this one, that one, and do 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 more double crochets, all in the same stitch. And then the next stitch, which is this one, that one, go in there with a front post double crochet. So the front post double crochets are trying to create the ridges, those lines that you see along the butterfly wing. So after your front post double crochet, go into the next stitch with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. That's what you should have. And then you're going to go into the very last stitch before the chain 1 space with a double crochet. This time not a front post, we're going in with just 1 plain double crochet, and then you're going to chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet. You're going to skip over the chain 1 space and double crochet into the very first double crochet after that, and then place a shell into the next stitch. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, all in the same stitch, and then front post double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, front post double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, front post double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next, like that, front post double crochet into the next stitch. And now we have 2 stitches left, so we are placing 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the second last. So your work should be like really packed right now, but that's okay. This is the foundation of the wing. You should be having something that looks messy like this. Then in the very last stitch after your last shell, you're going to place 1 double crochet into the very last stitch, like that. So right now we have something like this, but it will become flat later on. So this is row 2 of the wing. This is what you should have. So there is a space which had the chain 1 space. I told you this is the lower wing now, and this is the upper wing. The lower wing should be having a total of 3 shells, and then when you skip over the chain 1 space, you should be having a total of 5 shells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Make sure you have that. After the chain 1, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shells, and then on the lower wing you have 1, 2, and 3 shells. So once you have that finished, you're going to row 3 of the wing. You're going to chain 3, turn your work, and we're going to repeat row 2, but this time every front post double crochet will get a back post double crochet, so that we keep these ridges popping out on one side. You're going to, after you chain 3, you're going to jump into the chain 1 space of the first shell, with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, like that. And then now we're going to that what was a front post double crochet on the previous row, we are going to place a back post. So for the back post, you go in from the back, grab it, and then work your normal double crochet. And that is going to create that ridge popping out on one side. We won't have it popping out on the inside of the top. So at this point, I've determined which side is the outside part of my top. This is the outside and this is the inside part of my top. So after your back post double crochet, you're going to go into the next shell with a shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, like that. And then back post double crochet into the next previous front post double crochet. So I don't know how best to explain that, but every front post double crochet from the previous row will get a back post double crochet on this row. So place a shell into the next shell. So the shells are placed into the chain 1 spaces. Keep note of that. After your shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, you're going to place a back post double crochet, and then a shell, and then a back post double crochet, and then a shell. We're going to do this until you have a total of 5 shells, because we are on the upper side. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shells, and we are going to go into the very last stitch, this one, before the chain 1 space, with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next double crochet, skip over the chain 1 space, like that, and then place a shell. So now we've crossed over to the lower wing. Place a shell in the very first shell of the lower wing, and then back post double crochet, and then a shell into the next shell, then back post double crochet, and then a shell into the very last shell. I told you the lower wing has only 3 shells. And then after your very last shell, you're going to go into the very last stitch with a double crochet, and that marks the end of row 3 of the wing. And now we're going to row 4. For row 4, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, place a shell in the very first shell into the chain 1 space, of course. That's where we place the shells. Then you're going to place a front post, because now we are on the side where the ridges are popping outwards. This side we don't have ridges. When you're on this side, when you're working on this side, you place back post double crochets. When you're on the right side of your work, you place front post double crochets so that you can have those ridges popping out on one side. So you're going to place a front post double crochet, and then you're going to place a shell in the next shell, like that, and then place a front post double crochet, and then place a shell into the next shell. And now we've reached this point, and this is not a front post. We don't place a front post here on the edge of the wing. We place 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet into the next. So we've crossed over to the upper wing. You can see this, where the strings are is the upper wing, and then where this base is the lower wing. So at this point you should be seeing your work is speaking for itself. You see where to place the front posts, the back posts. The ridges are more pronounced. So you're going to place a shell into the very first shell of the upper wing. And then place a front post double crochet, then a shell into the next shell, then a front post double crochet, a shell into the next shell, then a front post double crochet, and we're going to repeat this until we get to our very last shell. Just continue doing that until you get to your very last shell. So I have my shell here, and then front post double crochet, and now I'm on the very last shell, and I'll place 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space of the previous shell, and then I'll go into the very last stitch with 1 double crochet. So this is what you should have. And now we're going to row 5 of the wing, chain 3, turn your work. We are going to just do the same exact thing. Just now every front post double crochet will get a back post double crochet. That's what you should know. So like right now I've placed my very first shell, and now I'm going to go into the next stitch with a back post double crochet because I'm on the wrong side of my work. And you're going to continue this until the end of your row. So I'm going to film this on camera so that you don't get confused. Back post, shell, then back post. So we're on the upper wing. That means I'm looking forward to having 5 shells. So shell, and then back post. So far I have 4 shells, 1 2 3 4, and then this is the very final shell of my upper wing, like that. And then I'll go into that double crochet before the chain 1 space with a double crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet onto the lower wing, and continue the same exact process. Back post, and then the last shell into the very last shell. So after this you're going to go into the very last stitch with a double crochet. And now this is what your work should look like on the outside, and then on the inside we have this. We don't have ridges on this side. So we are going to row 6, chain 3. We're going to repeat the same exact process, but this time with front post because we are on the right side of our work. So shell, you're going to chain 3 and then a shell into the very first shell, then front post double crochet, and then shell, and then front post double crochet, and then shell, and now we've reached the midsection of parting the lower wing with the upper wing. So we're going to go into the double crochet here with a double crochet, and then we're going to chain 1 and then double crochet into the next double crochet, skip over the chain 1 space. So there's that chain 1 space that keeps moving around. We shall see its use later. And then we are now on the upper wing, and we are going to just continue the same exact process. Don't forget, this is row 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yeah, it's row 6, and we are doing front posts because we are on the outside part of our top where the ridges are found. So we are going into our very last shell with a shell, and then into the very last stitch with 1 double crochet. That's what you should be having. This is the outside part of our work. This is the upper wing, this is the lower wing. And now we're going to start doing something different. You're going to chain 3, turn your work. This is row 7, and you're going to place 3 double crochets. Now the shells have changed. The shells are now 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Keep that in mind. So 3 double crochets, chain 1, not 2, and then 3 more double crochets. That's what you should be having. And then back post double crochet because we're on the wrong side of our top, and then 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next shell, after this you're going to place a back post double crochet. So since we're on the upper wing, we are going to do it until we get a total of 5 shells. So 1 2 3, chain 1 and 3 more double crochets. And then back post double crochet, and then a shell into the next shell, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then a back post double crochet, like that. So far we have 1 2 3 4, and we want a total of 5. So we are going into our very last shell with 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 more double crochets. And then you're going to go into that stitch here before the chain 1 space and place a double crochet there, and that marks the end of row 7 of the upper wing. And then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, right now we are going to be abandoning the lower wing. We shall come back to it later. We are going to first work the upper wing. So we are going to continue with our flow of the pattern. So 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets, like that. Then front post double crochet. I think by now you know where to place a front post and where to place a back post double crochet. So a shell into the next shell, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So from row 7 of the upper wing onwards, a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. It's no longer 2 chain 1 2. And then front post, a shell into the next shell, front post double crochet, a shell into the next shell, and then front post double crochet, then a shell into the very last shell. Now we're going to be alternating between row 7 and row 8 of the upper wing until we have a total of 6 rows of the extension of the upper wing. So far we have 2. We are going to continue working 5 shells of 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then the middle stitch until we have a total of 6 rows. So far we have 2, we want a total of 4. We are going to alternate between row 7 and row 8. So chain 1, place a shell into the first shell, but remember row 7 was an odd row, so it was worked on the wrong side. That means we placed back posts. So go ahead and work your total of 6 rows of the upper wing extension, and then I'll meet you back at that point when you're done with that. Alright, so I have my 6 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the extension of the upper wing. But I want to be at this point on the lower side of the upper wing. So that means I'm going to do one more row, which will be row 7. So we're just going with the flow of the pattern. Row 7 of the extension is going to be back posts. Back post and shell, back post and shell. And the shell is 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So I'm just speeding through this. Okay. So far I have 3 shells, and I should be having a total of 5 shells. Okay. Then back post. Then into the very last shell, we are going to place a shell. Like that, and then you're going to go into the very last stitch with a double crochet. So this is what you should be having right now. This is the outside part of your work, this is the wrong side of your work. Now we are on the lower end of the upper wing. So we are going to be doing something different because now we want to create decreases so that we close up the wing. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and into this shell, this time we're not going to place a shell. We're going to place a total of 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's all, and you're going to continue with the pattern of the flow of the pattern normally. So front post and then a shell, which is 3 double crochets. So everything else remains the same. The only change is here at the beginning. So let me continue with my row. So this is the very first row of decreases. So I'm in my very last shell and I'm placing a shell, and I'll go into the very last stitch with a double crochet, and then we are going to row 2 of the decreases, chain 3, turn your work normally. We don't decrease on the upper end of the wing. This upper end, we leave it the way it is. We just go with the flow of the pattern. We always reduce on the lower end of the upper wing. So after your shell, back post, and then shell, I'm going to be recording this whole part because it can get a little bit confusing. And then back post, then shell, and then back post, shell, and after this very last shell we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this wasn't a shell, these were just 4 double crochets. We're going to go into this front post double crochet with a double crochet, just a plain double crochet. That's all, and that marks the end of row 2 of the decreases. And then we are going to row 3, chain 3, turn your work, and we are going to repeat this row. Remember, we started with, instead of a shell here, we placed 4 double crochets. Like that, and then continued with the flow of the pattern. So front post, then shell, then front post, shell, front post, shell, so I told you the upper part of the upper wing it doesn't get any decreases. We just work normally. So this is what you should be having. And then we are going to row 4 of the decreases, chain 3, turn your work and work normally. So shell, and then back post double crochet because we're on the wrong side, then shell, and then back post, shell, and then this is not a shell, so that means we are going to stop on this stitch. We are going to just go in there with a double crochet and then chain 3 and turn. So you see what that is creating? It's creating the edge of the wing. So after you chain 3, place 4 double crochets into the next shell and continue to work normally for your row. Front post and then shell, and the shells are going to keep reducing until you no longer have any shells. I'll be showing you. I told you I'm going to be showing you the whole process of how to do this part. And then a shell, and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch, chain 3, turn your work, shell, so we're on the wrong side, that means we do back post double crochets, and then shell, and then this is the double crochets, the 4 double crochets, that means we stop here with a double crochet, chain 3, turn your work, then 4 double crochets into the next shell, and then front post double crochet, then a shell into the very last shell, and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch. So your rows are getting shorter and shorter. This is what you should be having. And then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, place a shell here, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and these are 4 double crochets, that means we stop our row on this double crochet. We're going to go in there with a double crochet, chain 3, turn your work, and then go into this shell, because now we only have 1 shell left, and we are going to go into it with 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then go into the very last stitch with a double crochet. That's what you should be having. So you can see that uniform edging, and then from here you're going to make a chain of about 200. I don't know how you prefer to make your chains, but I'll go with my normal of making chains, making straps. So chain 3, double crochet into this space, chain 3, double crochet in between the 2 double crochets below, chain 3, double crochet in between the 2 below, and I'm going to make sure I have about 50 to 70 segments of this, and by segments I mean these sections. So far I have 4. I'm going to go ahead and make a total of around 50. If you want longer, then you can go to 70. So before I continue, the upper wing is finished at this point. If you're a bigger size, then you may consider checking out the pattern on Etsy. I explain how to make the top bigger. This is the upper wing, it's all done, and I'm going to be doing my strap of 50 segments, and then I'll come back and show you how to work the lower wing. Alright, so I have my 50 segments of my strap. I'm going to chain 1. If you want it longer, I told you to consider about 70 segments. So this is what the upper wing will look like. And now we're going to attach our yarn on the lower wing and finish it up. So I prefer to attach it here on this double crochet that starts the lower wing. So attach your yarn there. You're going to chain 3, and then for the lower wing we don't increase the shells to 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. We are still doing 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the first shell, and then back post double crochet because we are on the wrong side, and then the same thing, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next shell, and then back post double crochet, then 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the last shell. So we are going into the very last stitch with a double crochet, and now we're going on to our next row. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work. We're going to place 3 double crochets in this space in the first shell, and then front post double crochet. So we are doing the decreases for the lower wing. So 3 double crochets into the first shell, front post double crochet because we are on the right side of our work, and then place a shell into the middle shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. I told you the lower wing doesn't change, and then front post double crochet into the next front post double crochet, and then 3 double crochets into the last shell. So after your 3 double crochets, you're going to go into the very last stitch with 1 double crochet, and then you're going to chain 3, turn your work. We're going to skip over the 3 double crochets, and we're going to make a back post double crochet here like that, and then you're going to place a shell into the middle shell like that, and then place a back post double crochet and go into the very last stitch of the row with a double crochet. So what you do on this side is exactly what you do here. Then you're going to chain 3, turn your work. We are going to place a shell into the very last shell, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, and then go into the very last stitch with a double crochet like that, and then you're going to chain 3, turn your work and place a double crochet into the very last stitch. So that's how you decrease the wing, the lower wing. After this, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So that marks the end of the lower wing. So that means one side of the butterfly is finished. Yeah. So we're going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. I'm going to be showing you how. Don't worry. This is how our wing has come out. And then we are going to attach our yarn at the same spot like we started the, let me say this is the right wing. So we're going to do the left wing the same exact way that we did the right wing. And we are going to be making some changes because we have to make sure these ridges, these lines here that pop out, are facing the same exact side. It's very easy to mess it up and then you realize afterwards that the ridges are not facing the right side. So you're going to attach your yarn in this corner, the top part of row 6 from the base, 1 2 3 4 5 6, but in that upper corner, and we are going to chain 3, place 5 double crochets. We are literally just repeating the same exact process as the left wing, as the right wing. So 1 2 3 4 5, and then 5 double crochets into the next double crochet space. So that will bring us to a total of 11 because the chain 3 counts as a stitch. So we have our 11 double crochets here, and then you're going to chain 1 and place a total of 7 double crochets into the next row, which is row 4 from the base. It will get a total of 7 double crochets. So these are 3 4 5 6 and 7, and then you're going to chain 3, turn your work. This is row 2, and for row 2, this is where we are going to determine which side is the right side and the wrong side, just by the direction where the ridges face. So we are going to go into the next stitch with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets like that, and then we would have done, if you're following the same exact process as the right wing, we did a front post double crochet, but this time you're seeing we are on the wrong side of our work, and you have to be careful with this because it's very easy to mess it up. So since we are on the wrong side of our work, and this is the row that's supposed to determine which side is the right side and the wrong side, so this is the wrong side, so that means we are going to do back post double crochet into the next stitch, and then into the next stitch you're going to place your 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, and then in the next stitch we are going to do a back post double crochet because we are on the wrong side. Remember, that's why the ridges are now going to start popping out on the right side of our work where these other ridges of the right wing are. So after this you're going to go into the next stitch with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and then go into the last stitch before the chain 1 space with a double crochet. So let me show you how that looks like on the outside. You can see the ridges are already starting to form on the right side of our work. Make sure you don't mess that up. And after this you're going to chain 1 and then double crochet into the very first stitch, and then 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, then 1 back post double crochet into the next stitch. So for the upper wing we want a total of 5 shells. This is our second one, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So we're literally just repeating the same exact process as the right wing, just the only difference is the direction of the ridges. So once you identify that on the second row and make it clear that the ridges will be on the right, on the correct side, then you're going to just continue following the same exact process as the right wing. So I've already determined that, and the moment I'm done with that, you're going to rewind your video to the right wing and follow the same exact process as you did for your right wing. If you made any changes while I was working, make sure you also do them on the second wing so that we balance our sides of the butterfly. So I have 2 stitches left, and I'll go into the second last with a shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and then go into the very last stitch with a double crochet there. So remember this point when we had that mess, but it turned out to be this. So in case you have this, don't worry, just go ahead and work your wing. It will become flat later on. So you're going to continue with your left wing. So a small tip is every time I say you do a back post on the right wing, when you're working your left wing, that will be a front post. It will just be the opposite. So go ahead and work your second wing, and then I'll meet you guys back when I have my second wing finished. Hey guys, so unfortunately I ran out of yarn, and I've just ordered for some more yarn to be delivered at my doorstep of the same exact color, so I couldn't finish the red butterfly top, but I'm going to be demonstrating with this. When you finish your left wing, you should have something like this, something exactly the same as this, and then you will attach your yarn here and do the same exact process for the lower wing, keeping in mind that the ridges have to face the same exact side, the top side of the butterfly top. And then after this, you'll have your wings ready, and this is already finished, but I'm going to be demonstrating with this. I haven't yet done the final touches of weaving in the ends and all that. So you can see where the butterfly starts from. We're going to close up a few rows from the head of the butterfly. You're going to close up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows with either single crochet or a darning needle or whatever, because at the end of your butterfly top it will be so open, it's almost like this, like real butterfly wings, but we want it to create some coverage for our cleavage so that it's more flattering and not so open to show our boobs. So we shall close up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 rows, depends on your bust. So I closed up about 6 rows, 5 to 6 rows, and that should be fine. Even some people can close up to 7, because I've tried with 7 rows and this is what I came up with. I'll be attaching a photo for you to see how it came out. It came out really perfectly fine. And yeah, these straps go behind the neck. These will be tied behind the neck. And then these straps that we did, these are a bit different from what I told you to do for your red top. These are thinner, but these straps are going to come to the back side of your top and weave through the lower section of the upper wing with a curse, of course. like that. So we shall have an X at the back, and then we grab this. This is going to create that coverage for our bottom of the bust, making sure that our boobs are not out. That's why I would advise you to do something different. I explained it in the written pattern on how to change for the people who have bigger busts to create more coverage towards the side of the top. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. It has been a request in my DMs for literally the whole week, and yeah, this is the tutorial, and I hope you liked it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.